Taking up a hobby may help stave off depression. For those who had depression and no hobby, taking one up was linked with an improvement in depressive symptoms and 272% higher chance of recovering from that depression. This is also how behavioral activation, which is a part of CBT in psychotherapy, works. By getting the depressed patient to force themselves to do things that even if they have no interest in it, you can eventually help them get back into the rhythm of doing these things/enjoying them. How do I get myself to do things I have no interest in? You put the cart before the horse, so to speak, to break the negative feedback loop of not doing anything. You make yourself do something different for 30 minutes or so each day. More often than not, eventually a certain activity will start to trigger motivation pangs where you want to do it again. To be fair, the advice being given isn't exactly just do the thing, it offers a more specific strategy: do something for just 30 minutes and see how you feel. I have ADHD, so I'm intimately familiar with executive dysfunction and how hard it is to motivate yourself to just get up and do something. Genuinely useful advice like do something for 30 minutes, do something small like stand up/wash your face/go for a walk, break down the thing you want to do into smaller steps and then do those steps. Sure, you could boil all that down to it's just do it, but that misses the point of all these pieces of advice, which is to help change your mindset in the moment to be more motivated. Those pieces of advice are not just telling you to do something, they're telling you how to do something, and that's genuinely helpful and not at all the same as someone on Facebook posting a "just don't be sad" one meme. The executive dysfunction kicks in hard for me sometimes. Someone once said just set a timer for 15 minutes and do one thing you need to do during that time. Once you do one thing, you might be more likely to keep doing another one thing, and then you've broken the cycle. It doesn't work all the time, but it certainly helps a lot for me. It's also important to acknowledge you may not be able to do it on your own, and getting help is good. What hobbies work best? As an occupational therapist who specialized in mental health, I can tell you that what works is what you are interested in. So it could be music, gardening, train spotting, cats. Basically, if you are interested in it, and put some effort in, it will reward you. Extra joy comes along if you can find one or two people who share your interest. In my experience, though it is helpful in prevention, it doesn't stop depression, may mitigate symptoms, but importantly does help in recovery. It's why having occupational therapists and/or activity therapists are so important in mental health teams. We will help you discover such interests and support you to take them up. Also important is having roles you value, not necessarily roles others value: work, family, friend, etc., and healthy habits, nutrition, exercise, appropriate medication, hygiene, finances, and a supportive environment, safe, a place to call home, friends/family. Activity therapist checking in. I agree with everything in this post. We also have to be careful with what we, readers, consider to be depression. I haven't had a chance to read the study in up and what definition they use. But the layman coming into the study may recognize depression as being just a low mood or situational rather than clinical depression. In the former case, increasing pleasant activity using hobbies is an excellent way to alleviate low mood and cope with situational depression. Some people may see their symptoms entirely disappear. When we talk about clinical depression, however, hobbies are just one piece of a treatment plan, and while they are definitely beneficial, it is no cure. Excellent point. A multidisciplinary approach is vital. I can tell you gardening is an excellent hobby to stave off depression/anxiety. There's some dirt microbes that help mood. Additionally, gardening is a great way to have something to work on a little bit each day. You can visually see the progress when you are caring for plants and providing the nourishment they need, which is a good reminder for self-care generally. Gardening forces you to look forward to something. Nobody gardens for immediate gratification. It takes time and seeing beyond the immediate struggles to get the payoff, harvesting fruits or flowers, and growth generally, etc. Additionally, when I've gardened, I find that it encourages other healthy behaviors like cooking healthier meals and getting outside in the sun for some vitamin D. Sometimes things still don't work out perfectly from pests or other things, but there's other opportunities to try again or different strategies to cope with potential problems. That is a healthy adaptive behavior. My advice on gardening as a hobby is to start small, with an easier low-maintenance plant and go from there. Choose something that breaks you out of a routine away from viewing screens all the time. Isn't one of the indicators of depression that the things you used to enjoy no longer excite you or bring any pleasure? Having the vigor to go participate in a hobby seems more like a result of coming out of a depression rather than a cause. But I'm honestly baffled by the concept of people who had no hobby. As in, they literally didn't do anything prior to being depressed? Yeah, no joke, they fell into depression. I can see why. I know people that only drink or watch TV as their hobbies, and while that's kinda sad, I mean at least it's something. Or is there some more nuanced definition of hobby that they're using here? Yeah, this only works if you're mildly depressed. I was severely clinically depressed, and honestly you just want to die. The only thing I could do is go to work, and that was just to avoid being fired. Now I'm in a better place. I started exercising 5 times a week, eating healthy and actively trying to make my diet more diverse, and feel a lot better, so I've come off all my drugs. But also, your depression can be so severe that it immobilizes you from taking up a hobby. So the severe depression that wouldn't have been starved off regardless is kind of ruining the entire sample, in my opinion. Maybe those who found that taking up a hobby was a realistic goal also had a more curable depression. I'm sure what you're describing there is probably at play to some degree in this study, but even so, I don't think that completely negates the potential utility of the actionable conclusions of the study, i.e., try to develop some hobbies if you're suffering from depression, and it'll potentially help. I really dislike studies like this because we always see a misrepresentation of the statistics. This doesn't mean what the post implies. What this literally means is someone who is able to take up a hobby while being depressed has a better chance of recovery. This can be good advice for a depressed patient, but the hobby itself probably has a smaller impact on the recovery than just the ability to move around and do things. If the patient is at the stage where they can muster the energy to move around and participate in a hobby, they have a much higher chance of getting better. This doesn't mean all depressed patients can take up a hobby. In fact, most people with major depression probably won't be able to do this without first finding a therapist that helps and a medication that helps. Maybe getting a hobby correlates with recovery. Maybe recovery correlates with getting a hobby. Unfortunately, my hobby were shut down by COVID.